What is up, YouTube? My name is Eben, and today I'm going to bring you my first place League Challenge ZoroGarb deck. I went 4-0 with this deck. It's really solid. I've tested it for a couple of weeks now. I really like the list as it is. We got 4 Zoroarks. You ought to know what he does by now. We're running 4 Zoruas to go with it, of course. We're running a 2-2 line of Trash Lanch Garbodor with little Trubbish to go with him, of course. The Trash Lanch is just so powerful. So many decks fuel this. They kind of have to in order to get their own setup. So they kind of are in a place where they have to let you hit them with a heavy Trash Lanch, whether they like it or not. We're running 2 Tapu Leles. We're running 1 Resource Management Oranguru. The resource management is really amazing, especially in matches like against like Mini Hoop. I had to deal with that the other day, and this thing really came through pretty clutch. It's good against special energy removal too, because there's no special recharge or anything like that. So we definitely have to use this to get back our DCEs and stuff for those situations. We got 1 Tapu Koko. I mean, the Flying Flip is nice, can put some things in range for Garbodor and Zoroark, but really it's here mostly as a free retreating pivot. And our final one is 1 copy of Let Loose Marshadow. This can be really good, especially on the first turn. But if your opponent just sets up to a really big hand or something and you're thinking next turn they're going to make the plays, drop a DCE and evolution, etc., you can also search for him then. And in a pinch, he can also just draw you cards if you really need it, if you're whiffing something. So that's the Mon lineup. Pretty straightforward there. And we've got 4 Cynthias, just pretty much the best draw support in the format. We've got 3 Lilies. Obviously, this is a supporter you want on your first turn, and we're a little short of like really amazing draw supporters right now. But the Lily's also really good since we run a lot of items we can play out of our hand and definitely get her to where she's at least drawing us like 3 or 4 cards, which is pretty solid, obviously. And we're running 3 Guzma, pretty amazing, and we can always recycle them for multiple uses via Palpad or Oranguru. I've opted for 2 Apricorn Makers. I don't know if I would say this is like a mandatory thing. I kind of enjoyed it since we're running 3 different Pokeballs. This is a great way to set up early game. You can just get 2 Nest Balls, but it leaves you the option that mid to late game, if you need an evolution, like say your Garbodor, this can go get you a Timer Ball or 2 to kind of try to secure that as well. We got 1 Titan Liza to be another draw supporter, granted, but that switch can be pretty clutch under the right circumstances, so we are running 1 of those. We got 1 Judge. It's pretty devastating early game if you want to go that route on that first turn, especially before, like if you go first, that can be pretty punishing to your opponent. And finally, we do run 1 Acerola. This is largely to pick up your Zoroarks and deny knockouts, but especially with things like Shrine of Punishment out there, Acerola can be very good for like recycling your Tapu Lele, for example. So I think it is definitely worth it to run the 1. And moving on to our item count, we've got 4 Ultra Balls, for all the obvious reasons. It just gets everything. It's just such a great card. No explanation really needed. 4 Nest Balls, because we want to set up and fill up our bench for Zoroark as fast as possible. So we are opting for 4, and I never regretted that even once. So definitely worth running. We got 2 Timer Balls. This is partially because of Apricorn Maker, but once again, this also just is good for securing Zoroark and Garbodor. And I'm also running 4 Choice Bands in this list. My local meta tends to be pretty GX heavy, so I thought this would be a pretty good way to go. If I could do it over again, I might take one of these out for Professor Kukui to give us a little more draw power and allow us to do things like pick off Lele's that get left in the active slot, etc. But this is still totally good this way as well. Definitely can set you up for a lot of good knockouts. We got 1 Rescue Stretcher, for all the obvious reasons, shuffling in for Garbodors when they have to do more work than the Zoroark, etc., that sort of thing. I've opted for 1 Energy Lotto. It's sort of like a 5th double colorless energy. Think of it that way. Double Enhanced Hammers, because these can be pretty clutch, especially against other Zoroark variants as well. We got 2 Field Blowers, because once again, Shrine is kind of an issue, and under the right circumstances, it can be very helpful to pick off other stadiums as well, especially like Ultra of the Moon, because they'll discard extras thinking you kind of want to take advantage of it or something like that, and you can use this to pick it off to deny switches like for Dawn Wings, etc. And finally, we've got 1 Palpad, just a great way to recycle largely those Guzmas in case you have to discard them early game to Zoroark or whatever. This helps ensure that you get those late game Guzmas to really punish your opponent. Because that's kind of what the game is about now, is getting that set up and then having those Guzmas in the late game to pick up the right prizes at the right times. And finally, our energy is pretty minimal, but it gets the job done. We got 4 DCEs, obviously, and we've got 3 Psychics. I like having the 3 Psychics because that's 2 Garbodors and then 1 extra, so we can afford to prize 1, etc. And you can also, you're never going to GX with your ZoroGarb, so in theory, under the right circumstances, you might Tapu Cure. It's extremely unlikely, but, you know, hey, I've done it, it works. If they put heavy damage on 2 ZoroArcs, or like, let's say they're doing spread damage via Weavile or something, this can be a great way. You can bring up that Lele, Tapu Cure, heal up the both of them, and then even Ace roll the Lele on the next turn if they can't knock it out right away. So that's the energy lineup. Pretty short and sweet. You do have to conserve your energies pretty well to play effectively. You don't want to discard them if it's possible to avoid. But other than that, that is the deck. It is a pretty amazing list. And like I say, ZoroGarb is nothing unusual. It's nothing you haven't heard of, but I like this particular list. It did really well, like I say. So until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more content.